I didn't use charm. I used what your husband likes. If you want your husband to stop patronizing me, go and learn how to be sweet in bed. Once upon a time, in the village of Otukbo, there lived a maiden whose beauty could make a blind man regain sight just to admire her. Her name was Adanna. Now, when I say Adanna was beautiful, I don't mean fine like Mama Kelechi's daughter's fine. No, I mean the kind of beauty that makes grown men stutter, palm wine tappers fall from trees, and married women start fasting and binding demons that didn't exist. Her eyes were as bright as morning dew, her skin smoother than a freshly peeled yam, and her hair, that one was always braided and packed like the crown of a goddess, fresh from Amadioha's tailor. From the moment Adanna stepped into the village of Otukbo, Wahala started. Villagers began to lose their sleep. The whole village buzzed like bees around ripe mango. She wasn't originally from Otukbo. No one knew exactly where she came from. She had arrived years ago as a quiet teenage girl and moved in with one old childless woman, Mama Nnedi, who lived at the far end of the village. So far that even Remus had to use a bicycle to get there. Adanna cared for Mama Nnedi like a daughter until the old woman passed away quietly in her sleep one rainy morning. After the burial, Adanna continued to live in the small cracked hut alone. No family, no visitors, just her and silence. Now here's the thing. Adanna wasn't the kind of girl who mixed up. You would never see her dancing with the other maidens during moonlight play, or bathing at the river with the village maidens, or even gist loudly at the market. No. If she was going to the stream or market, she went alone, her head high like she was queen of Otukbo. And somehow, that was enough to cause a riot in the mouths of the village women and maidens who were so curious to find out more about her. That Adanna girl, I don't understand her. Something tells me her beauty is not ordinary. And have you noticed how she walks like breeze doesn't touch her? One trader would say as she arranged her okra. I swear, I suspect that girl is from the marine kingdom. She is not human, always walking alone, like she's auditioning for spirit wife role. Another would add, clapping her hands together in suspicion. And don't even get me started on the maidens. Those ones are even more pained than the women. Adanna's beauty gave them sleepless nights. Every night, under the old Udara tree, where gossip flowed freer than palm wine at Ofala festival, Adanna was always a topic. And it always begins with, guess who I saw today? Adanna, the others would echo and burst into laughter. My chest. That girl's beauty makes me believe the gods are partial, and I feel so pained. She looks like she was carved by 10 angels and a jealous spirit, and that's why she carries herself like she has no spare parts, one would say. Can you imagine I greeted her, and she just mumbled something and walked away? Is it because she has hips like a dancing pot? She acts like she rules the world. I beg, she's beautiful, yes, but is she better than all of us put together? Another would hiss while adjusting her wrapper, like she was fighting the thought. Now wow, others would echo in unison, like a gospel choir of jealousy. It didn't take long before they tagged her strange, and would murmur whenever she passed. But Adanna, she did not send anybody's father. She was far too busy being breathtakingly beautiful to care about any nonsense that was flying around the village. Let them talk. Let them organize a festival of gossip if they liked. As far as she was concerned, the moon would still shine, And Adana's beauty would still blind. When Adana clocked 18, she looked at herself in the small broken mirror in her hut and said, "It is time." Time for what, you would ask? Time to let the village choke on beauty. For years, she had hidden her fire under a pot, but now the smoke was about to rise, and Otukpo would never recover. The New Yam Festival was fast approaching. If there was ever a season that turned the village upside down, it was that one. Men and women returned from the city with their Ajebota accents. The local drummers rehearsed like their lives depended on it. Palm wine flowed like river water, and oh, the excitement. To the village maidens, the festival was marriage Olympics. This was when you could catch a Lagos returnee with a Toyota and a flat in Festac. Hair was dyed. Wrappers were tightened. Waist beads were ordered from the market. To the market women, it was harvest season. Not of crops, but of money. They sold beads, creams, perfumes, charms, bleaching soaps. We don't judge. And spiritual waist chains with names like Catch Him and Tie Him. As for the young men, they tried to act unbothered. Festival again. It's nothing. But deep down, they were waiting eagerly to see who would win most beautiful maiden of the season. This year, they had no idea what was coming. That very week, under a cool and beautiful evening sky, something historic happened. Adana showed up. Yes, the same Adana who always moved like the village breeze owed her money. She walked glided into the gathering of village maidens under the Udara tree like a goddess who had just remembered her children. And this time, she came not with silence, but with a warm smile. She greeted everyone politely. The girls froze. Wait, was that a greeting from Adana? Was she possessed? Did someone wash her face at the river? And then she spoke. Her voice? My dear, it wasn't a voice. It was a sweet melting thing. The kind of voice that could make a stubborn goat turn vegetarian. Smooth, rich, and gentle like evening breeze on hot skin. I am coming out this season, she announced softly. And I wish to join the maidens' dance. There was silence, total silence, as the maidens glanced at each other. Was this the same Adana they had labelled arrogant, mystical, spirit wife in disguise? She looked nothing like what they had labelled her. She was polite, too polite. Suspicion was loading in their heads, but envy wasn't far behind. Of course, they welcomed her. What else could they do? With the kind of beauty she was carrying, it was either a smile or sweat. Then, one of the bolder maidens, clearly trying to confirm if Adana was just beauty and no action, stood up with crossed arms. You need to show us what your legs can do. That was a big mistake. Because the moment the drums rolled off, something changed in the air. Adana moved. She didn't dance. She possessed the earth. She twirled like wind on dry leaves. Her waist moved like a snake taught ballet. Her legs, they told stories with every stomp. By the time she flipped and landed softly on the dust, like a feather from a dancing eagle, the maidens were dumbfounded. Nobody could speak. Mouths were open. They had never seen anything like that. By the next morning, Adana's dance had become national news, village edition. Market women discussed her while pricing tomatoes. Hunters paused in the forest to gist about her legwork. Even the village madman said, "Na Adana dance wake me from my madness." The excitement doubled overnight. Adana is coming out as a maiden this year. Festival go hot oh, the women shouted as they walked home from the market, wrappers flipping like battle flags. The maiden began to run helter-skelter. No one wanted to be background dancers at their own festival. Budgets were raised. Some sold their mother's wrappers to buy new ones. Waistlines were starved into submission. They practiced their dance steps like warriors training for war. Because deep inside, they all knew the truth. If Adana stepped on that dance floor, nobody was safe. The long-awaited day finally arrived. The Great New Yam Festival. From the moment the cock crowed thrice, you could feel it in the air. Today was special. The sun came out wearing its finest glow, as if it too was attending the event. Birds danced in circles, and the village square glittered like never before. No market opened. No one went to the farm, not even the stingiest farmer who never missed a harvest. Today, Otukpo stood still. Everyone was looking their best. Children wore matching wrappers. Women tied double gilly on one head. And the men, they wore their finest wrappers like they were auditioning to be chief. The drums had already begun to roll, kind that vibrated in your chest and made your waist misbehave without permission. The king and his royal cabinet were seated under the great red canopy, chewing cola and nodding like parrots that understood the rhythm. The ceremony kicked off with chants, praises, and traditional performances. Each group came out to dance: children, hunters, farmers, even the widows' society, with their stiff waistlines and holy handkerchiefs. The villagers clapped and cheered, but there was something missing, something or someone. From the left to the right, heads kept turning like borrowed fans. Eyes were scanning, necks were stretching, mouths were whispering. Have you seen her? Where is she now? Are you sure she's coming? Even the maidens on the dance line were sweating, not just from the sun, but from tension. No one had seen Adana. Fear began to settle in their hearts like early morning dew. Could it be that she changed her mind? Some maidens silently thanked their ancestors. If Adana didn't show up, the festival might still belong to someone else. At least, the other maidens could get enough attention. Hope returned to their hearts, and they smiled like goat thieves whose plans had just worked. Then it was time. The maidens' dance was announced. They stepped into the center, each one glowing and grinning, hips ready, beats clinking, brows ached. They danced beautifully, no doubt about that. Their moves were smooth, calculated and rehearsed to the bone. But the crowd was silent, eyes scanning beyond the stage. This wasn't what they were expecting. The villagers had heard stories of Adana's magical feats for weeks. They came with expectations, serious expectations. But what they were seeing now, though graceful, wasn't the fire they had been promised. Even the drummers were playing like they were unsure. Disappointment was dancing louder than the maidens, sighs everywhere. And just as the performance was about to end, it happened. A hush swept across the village square. Heads turned so fast. And then she appeared. Adana leaped into the dance floor like a goddess descending straight from the heavens. The sun paused. The wind held its breath. Even the dust sat to watch. She looked like something sculpted by jealous angels. Her body shimmered. Her beads clinked in rhythm. Her eyes sparkled like moonlight on river water. And when she moved, hey, it was mind-blowing. She didn't just dance. She told a story with every step. She flirted with the air, seduced the soil, and hypnotized the sky. The crowd went mad. Everyone stood up. Everybody, from the king to the village madman. People were shouting, cheering, climbing stones to see better. Women dropped baskets, men clapped like their hands were on fire. Some even forgot to breathe. Even the maidens stood confused, eyes blinking like faulty lanterns. This was not the same girl who had danced under the Udara tree. This version had been upgraded to goddess mode. Adanna didn't just steal the show. She hijacked the entire kingdom. She danced her way into the hearts of the people. Men, women, children, even animals would have applauded if they could. After the festival, Adanna became the village star. At the river, did you see her spin like a river spirit? At the market, I still did dream about that waist movement, I swear. At the farm, even the yam shook underground when she stomped. From house to house, bush paths to palace gates, Adanna became the heartbeat of Otukpo. This was all she wanted. And now, she had the attention of the entire village. After the festival, Otukpo turned upside down. Suitors began to troop to Adanna's hut like ants discovering a sugar mountain. It wasn't just ordinary men, no. From the richest chief in the village to the brokest herder, everyone wanted to marry the goddess with the magical waist. They couldn't stop talking about her beauty. Some men said her eyes had a Bluetooth connection to their soul. Others claimed her waist had a magnetic jazz. Whatever it was, Otukpo men were bewitched, and her hut quickly became the hottest destination in the entire village. Every morning, Adanna would sit gracefully in front of her hut, adorned like a queen going for a royal wedding, anklets, beads, wrapper tighter than a village budget. Her skin glowed like morning palm oil, and her lips were always glossed and pouted like she was about to whisper seduction into the air. And oh, the men came, with baskets of wines, rolls of expensive fabrics, live goats, necklaces, perfumes, imported soaps, just name it. Some even borrowed clothes just to look fresh. And they knelt before her with the most ridiculous lines. Adanna, I will do anything to win your heart. Just name it. I will pluck the stars. I will milk a lion. I will drink palm wine with my nose. Adanna always smiled, a mischievous smile. Because what these poor lovers didn't know was, she came prepared. The moment any man said, I will do anything, she already had a task. One that would send common sense packing. One morning, she stood up elegantly looking at a dozen men in front of her. She cleared her throat like a palace messenger and said, You all have 30 days to impress me. Whoever does the most will win my heart. The men didn't question her. They didn't argue. Her words were their command, and they all wanted to be the lucky one. Just like that, the contest began. Every day was like a fashion parade. Men showed up wearing their best outfits. They brought in gifts, yam, money, perfumes, gold. And Adanna, she just sat there, calm, stunning, dangerously divine, sipping wine from her clay cup like a village Cleopatra, dishing out tasks that would confuse even the gods. One morning, she turned to Obiora, the proud son of Chief Emenike. Obiora, you said you would do anything to win my heart, Abi? Obiora stood tall, puffed his chest like a patriotic rooster. Yes, anything, Adanna. Just name it. She smiled sweetly and pointed at the tall, suspicious-looking palm tree standing like a gossiping elder in front of her hut. Climb it. Obiora blinked. Twice. Palm tree? He had expected, bring me a golden necklace or buy me a lace from the market. Not climb a tree like a spiritual monkey. But love was blind and heartbreak was worse. So Obiora tied his wrapper, cracked his knuckles and began to climb. He climbed like his father's legacy depended on it. Halfway through, he started begging the gods. By the time he reached the top, He screamed like a hyena under attack. And Adanna, she was on the ground pointing and laughing like it was a comedy show. Villagers gathered to watch this hilarious scene. Obiora almost died for love, but thank God, his ancestors pulled him down alive. Did that stop the other men? Not at all. If anything, it got worse. Some men emptied their life savings, sold their goats, borrowed money, all just to stay in Adanna's competition. And the task, pure madness, you can't even begin to imagine. She told a wealthy farmer to do frog jumps for 12 hours straight if he wanted her heart. And the man started jumping like a spiritual frog on it. One muscular suitor did 1,000 press-ups, and as his body ached, all he could do was curse Adanna. If I marry that girl, I will deal with her for all this nonsense. But Adanna didn't care. She just smiled and crossed her legs, because what they didn't know was that she had other plans. The air in Otukpo was hotter than usual, not because of the sun, but because gossip was flying like torn wrappers in the Harmattan breeze. The villagers had only one topic, Adanna. From streamside whispers to late-night kitchen corner, murmurs, stories of what Adanna was doing with the men were spreading like wildfire. Some were disgusted, others secretly impressed. I can't believe how heartless that girl is, one maiden muttered bitterly, as she headed to the stream, her clay pot wobbling on her head. Me, I blamed the men, another snapped, nearly sleeping on a stone. Shebi they want a beautiful girl, that's it. Let her give them pepe, foolish goats. They hissed in unison, the kind of hiss that could fry plantain. But truth be told, jealousy was dancing a zonto in their hearts. After the 30 days of madness, frog jumps, press-ups, tree climbing and spiritual heartbreak, Adanna summoned the entire troop of her would-be lovers. She stepped out of her hut, adorned like a queen, summoned by thunder, with that usual deadly smile on her lips. "Well done, gentlemen," she said sweetly. "Thanks to your efforts, I am now rich." The men clapped awkwardly, some smiling proudly like investors waiting for their reward. Until, "But I have no intention of settling down in marriage." What? The air froze, eyes bulged, mouths dropped. Confusion entered the meeting like a masquerade with no respect. Some men started fuming immediately. Others looked like they were about to cry. After all the humiliation, all the frog jumps and dangerous stunts, this girl just stood and said, "Thank you for your money." But before anger could fully form in their hearts, Adanna smiled again. That kind of smile that calmed angry spirits and made grown men forget their father's name. And their rage melted like hot oil poured on ice. "Let me be honest with you all," she continued. "All I want is money. That's the only true love I know." She paused dramatically. "You want something, I want something. Let's not pretend. So here's the deal. If you have enough money, you can have a taste of my honey pot. No feelings, just payment." The wind stopped blowing and the air ceased as the men looked at each other. This was not a common practice in Otukpo. A maiden boldly declaring herself for prostitution. It was unheard of. But before the village elders could gather and say to Fiakwa, guess what? The men had begun to line up. Before long, Adanna's hut turned into Otukpo's unofficial village market. It became the international airport of pleasure. Every man who entered came out singing her praise. Chai! I don't know what she rubs down there, but it's not of this world. My soul left my body and returned with joy. Even my knees are still vibrating. This honey pot is different from the one we know. And these were not poor men, no. No be Emeka the palm kernel seller. Of course, Adanna was expensive and she rolled only with the rich. So most of these men were stinking rich, landowners, chiefs and chiefs' sons. They waited patiently, sometimes bringing gifts just to jump the queue. Some even washed Adanna's plate and swept her compound to impress her. And Adanna, she was living her best life. Her lips always glossed, adorned in beautiful attires, her beads rattling like war drums as she walked confidently into the hearts and wallets of the men. Soon, it wasn't just single men anymore. The news about this magical honeypot was everywhere, and the married men whose sex life had become boring joined the queue, boldly abandoning their wives and responsibilities. Some even came with all the money they've made through the farming season, and left with empty pockets and glowing smiles. But as Adanna reigned like a queen of forbidden sweetness, something dangerous began to bubble beneath the surface. The women of Otukpo were no longer finding it funny. Their husbands were spending recklessly. Children were walking barefoot. Soup pots were empty, all because of one girl, Adanna. Many swore she had used charms on the men. Others said she had a snake living inside her honeypot, because how could you explain the fact that every man wanted a taste of this honeypot, and the more they had, the more they wanted? So many narratives were just flying around. One day, one woman had had enough. Her name was Mama Njideka. Her husband, Chief Okoro, had spent all their savings on Adanna and still came home laughing like a drunk squirrel. They had no food at home, nothing, and her children were crying of hunger. That night, Mama Njideka tied her double wrapper tight, rubbed red camwood on her face like war paint, and stomped into Adanna's compound like thunder without rain. Adanna! Adanna! You this shameless child of the devil, she roared. Come out, before I drag your long demon-infested hair out myself. Adanna stepped out slowly, leaning on the doorframe with a yawn. Mama Njideka, why are you screaming my name like a goat in labor? Don't you know my neighbors are sleeping? You think it's funny, eh? You think it's funny, you useless girl? What have you done to my husband? What have you done, you witch? He has spent all our savings on you. Who do you think you are? Why are you bent on destroying my home? A home I've worked so hard to build all these years. Adanna smiled lazily, inspecting her fingernails. Your husband came to me willingly. I didn't beg him. I didn't even chase him, and same with every other man. He chose honey over bitterness. And who am I to stop him? You witch! Thank you, Adanna curtsied. That's the nicest thing anyone has said to me today. Is that all you came here to say? This was not the kind of reaction Mama Njide had expected from Adanna. She played cool, too cool. You think I don't know what you do? You've used charms on the men, haven't you? Remember, Adanna, you will rot one day. You think the gods are sleeping? Adanna, you will suffer, Mama Njideka cried. Adanna walked closer, face calm, but eyes glowing like firewood embers. I didn't use charm. I used what your husband likes. If you want your husband to stop patronizing me, go and learn how to be sweet in bed. Mama Njideka raised a hand, but Adanna caught it mid-air. Their eyes locked, the air turned cold, and for the first time, Mama Njideka saw something strange in Adanna's eyes, something ancient, something that was not quite human. She yanked her hand back quickly, turned, and ran out of the compound as fast as her legs could carry her, muttering prayers and regrets all the way home. Something was not right with Adanna. But the drama didn't end with Mama Njideka's failed confrontation. No, this was just the beginning. Soon, the village women, burning with anger and betrayal, decided that they had had enough of her seductive witchcraft. So they formed a union, Yes, a whole association. They called it Wives Against Adanna. Their goal was simple: to destroy Adanna, get her out of the village, and set their husbands free from her honeypot of doom. But guess what? Mama Njideka refused to join. The same woman who had stormed Adanna's compound with fire and thunder now stayed quiet like a snail in fasting season. She didn't explain. She didn't talk. She just stared into space like someone who had seen something she could never unsee. And truth is, she had. But the other women, they didn't know. They thought she was just being too dramatic. Every evening, the wives of Otukpo gathered under the big mango tree near the abandoned shrine. The only place they believed no one would bother them or eavesdrop on their discussion. It was supposed to be a serious strategic war council, but what actually happened there was pure unfiltered comedy. This day, as they gathered, chairs dragged, wrappers were tied tighter, and complaints flew like confused chickens. They were all eager to find solutions to their problems. "Order! Order!" shouted Mama Chinyere, who had appointed herself the president of War Against Adanna, without anyone voting. She stood in the center holding a big wooden spoon like a talking stick. "This meeting is for serious women only. If you know your husband is under Adanna's spell, say aye. Aye," they all chorused like wounded parrots. "Good. Now suggestions on how to remove this village Jezebel." Mama Uche raised her hand quickly like a student desperate to pass an exam. "Let's pour hot oil in front of our house and set it on fire," she said, eyes bulging. Mami Funaya hissed, "And burn our own husbands. I can see now that this your stupidity was what made your husband marry 10 wives after you. May Amadioha strike you dead for saying that rubbish," Mamuche shot back. "Order!" Mama Chinyere shouted. "Next." Mama Mara stood up, her voice laced with madness. "Let's kidnap her and throw her into the evil forest." "And who will do the carrying?" someone else asked. "You?" With those two left knees. They all burst into laughter. Nne, who barely spoke, suddenly stood and said, "Let's report her to the king." Mama Mara scoffed. "That king, that's also waiting for his turn in the queue. Tufiakwa, don't you have any sense at all?" And just like that, another meeting ended with insults, finger pointing, and zero conclusion. And it didn't take long for the association to scatter, without any reasonable solution. Meanwhile, something terrible had begun to unfold. Quietly at first, like a whisper in the dark. It started with one man falling sick, and then dying after a few days. Then another and another. And still the village remained calm. Nobody really thought much about it. After all, people fall ill, people die, it's part of life. But then came the 5th, the 6th, the 10th, all within the same short space of time. All men. And they had the same strange black mark, a jagged, ugly scar that appeared on their chest. Now, panic had begun to spread like wildfire in Dry Harmattan, especially among the men. No one knew who would be next. One moment, a man would be smiling, the next, coughing up blood and collapsing on the ground. They began to run helter-skelter, to the herbalist, the shrines, even the forest, seeking answers from the gods. But the oracles were silent. The deities offered no explanation. But strangely, it didn't stop the men. They still lined up at Adanna's hut, every night, every evening, as if something beyond their will was pulling them there. Mama Njideka, meanwhile, was still haunted, not just by her husband's betrayal or the way he had emptied their family savings, but by the terrifying thing she had seen in Adanna's eyes the night she confronted her. A fire, a void, something that had no place in this world. The fear still gripped her heart like a cold hand, but curiosity had begun to burn alongside it. Who exactly was Adanna? Where had she come from? Why was she alone in a village where no one could tell who her father or mother was? Not even a sibling, nor a cousin, no background, no origin at all. Even her name, no one could tell if it was real. So one night, Mama Njideka slipped into the dark. She told no one. She made no sound. She simply tied her wrapper, covered her head, and walked quietly in the direction of Adanna's hut. The night was cold, and the wind whistled with an eerie tone. Leaves crackled beneath her feet, but she did not stop. Her fear was screaming, but her need to know was louder. When she got to the compound, it was quiet, eerily so. She heard only a faint moan from inside the hut, probably from Adanna's last visitor for the night. No one was outside, no movement, just a heavy silence, broken only by the sound of tree frogs and distant drums. She crouched behind a tree in the compound, her body stiff, her ears alert. Soon, she saw a man leave the hut, and then everywhere was silent again. She didn't know what she was waiting for, but she stayed. Time passed. She couldn't say how long. She was almost dozing off when she heard the soft creak of the door. She looked up and saw Adanna step out. Her beauty under the moonlight was almost supernatural. Her skin shimmered. Her eyes glowed faintly. Even Mama Njideka, whose heart was pounding in fear, found herself completely mesmerized. Then, Adanna began to walk. She walked silently towards the village stream path. No water pot, just a small white bag in her hand. Mama Njideka, now fully awake and trembling, followed her from a distance. Step by step, shadow to shadow, breath by breath. They arrived at the river bank. Adanna didn't pause. She walked straight into the water, waist deep, then chest deep. Then, the impossible happened. Right before Mama Njideka's eyes, Adanna began to transform. Her flawless skin melted away. Her smooth face twisted into something scary. She became a hideous, deformed version of herself. A maiden, so ugly that Mama Njideka almost screamed. But she covered her mouth, frozen and horrified. And then, just when she thought she had seen it all, another maiden appeared. This one was identical to Adanna. The real face, the original beauty everyone knew. Adanna, the monstrous one, handed over a white bedspread to the beautiful maiden. The same bedspread she laid on when she entertained the men. Mama Njideka's head spun. Her legs grew weak. Her heart pounded against her ribs like it wanted to escape. What was she seeing? She blinked and looked again. The river was empty. Both maidens were gone. Silence returned. Terrified, Mama Njideka turned to run. But as she turned, she stopped cold. Her knees gave way, because standing in front of her, silent, glowing and unblinking, was Adanna. The same Adanna, the one the village knew, the beautiful one. But her eyes were burning with flames. "You've seen what you wanted to see," Adanna said calmly, her voice echoing like thunder wrapped in velvet. Mama Njideka fell to her knees, trembling uncontrollably. "Please, I'm sorry, I was just curious. Don't kill me, please." Adanna stepped closer, her face calm but fierce. "You should have stayed out of my way," she whispered. She stared into Mama Njideka's soul for a long, terrifying moment. "I will not kill you. You've done nothing wrong to me. But you will never tell what you saw." And in that instant, Mama Njideka lost her voice. She couldn't scream. She couldn't whisper, nothing. Only fear remained in her heart. But what neither of them knew was that they were not alone. Someone else had been watching, the village chief priest. He had suspected Adanna from the day he first laid eyes on her. Something in him shook violently that day, like the gods themselves were whispering a warning. And when the strange deaths began, his suspicion grew. So that night he followed her too, and he saw it all. The transformation, the second Adanna, the bedspread, the face. And he knew exactly whose face it was. Vengeance was upon Otukpo. Obiageli was back. And if he didn't act fast, terrible things would continue to happen. By morning, 6 dead bodies were found with the same marks, and the villagers gathered at the palace, terrified and crying as they sought answers. Gradually, they were losing their men, and in the most horrifying way. Who will father our children? Who will marry our daughters? The women cried. Before the sun rose high, the palace was packed with people. We await the coming of Ezedibia, the chief priest, the king announced. He has sent a message that he has a word for us, and I hope it is a solution to these mysterious deaths. Please, my people, let's be calm as we wait. Mom was rippled through the crowd, and after what seemed like eternity, the clang of Ezedibia's bell alerted everyone. They all turned as Ezedibia's face bore no smile. He walked straight to where the king stood and bowed. "My king," he began, "there is trouble. Revenge is upon us." "Revenge?" the king asked, surprised. "What are you talking about?" "Obiageli. She is back. I saw her." Some of the villagers who knew Obiageli gasped. Of course, no one could forget her, even though she had suddenly disappeared. "Obiageli? She died a long time ago. What are you talking about?" an elderly man asked. Now, a little backstory. Obiageli was a maiden no one wanted. Her skin was rough like yam peels, her eyes uneven like misplaced beads, and her teeth were scattered like grains of corns in the wind. To crown it all, she was ugly. I mean very ugly. Children mocked her. Men avoided her like a curse. They called her cruel names. Ezenjo, meaning king of the ugly, spirit face. Women shielded their sons when she passed, as they said jokingly, "If you bring any woman like Obiageli home for marriage, I will die that same day." But behind that face was a heart soft as silk. Obiageli was too kind. Everyone could testify to that. She never passed anyone in need without offering a helping hand. Despite the fact that the villagers avoided her like plague and called her names, she still had so much love to give in her heart, and she smiled even when her heart bled. Just like every maiden in the village, she dreamed of love, of a man who would look beyond her physical appearance and see through her heart. And she never gave up. Then came Obinna, the handsome village hunter, strongly built with a tongue sweeter than honey. He prided himself with having slept with several girls in the village, and unknown to Obiageli, he was merely seeking another conquest. He had always wondered what the ugly Obiageli tasted like. He saw her vulnerability and used it like a tool. He began greeting her in public, bringing her gifts and telling her the sweetest things she has ever heard. "A woman is not defined by looks," he said to her, "but her soul, of which yours is so beautiful and had drawn mine, making me hopelessly in love with you." For the first time in her life, Obiageli believed she was worthy of love. She fell for his sweet tongue, and she gave him her trust. And one moonlit night, just like Obinna had always wanted, she gave him her body. but the next morning shattered everything. Obinna stood in the village square, surrounded by his friends, and shouted for all to hear. "I have done it! I have conquered the village beast. Her face looks like two warring spirits, but I held my breath and entered her honeypot. Oh! Even that one looks like rotten pawpaw. Nothing there to enjoy at all." The crowd roared with laughter. Women screamed in disgust. And before evening, some of the crazy village children had formed the song. Obinna climbed a kenta. Obiageli was shattered beyond repair. She even feared leaving her hut as the humiliation was just too much to bear. A week later, Obinna married a rich chief's daughter for money. He never even looked back. But fate was not finished with Obiageli. Obiageli, bruised and humiliated, discovered she was pregnant. With fear and trembling hands, she went to Obinna. "I am carrying your child." But the next thing she saw and heard shocked her. Obinna burst into laughter. "Me? Have a child with you? That child would definitely look like a river demon. Look, you need to go see the village herbalist and flush that thing off." Obiageli was furious. She had never felt this kind of anger before. All she had done was love Obinna. And not only did he make a fool out of her, now he wants to get her killed by asking her to flush the baby. A lot of maidens had died in the village by committing this singular act, abortion. "No," Obiageli insisted. "I can't do this." "You must do it," Obinna thundered. "Then, I will have to let your wife know that I am carrying your child," Obiageli threatened back. And that sealed her fate. Obinna didn't want anything to come between himself and his wife Ene. Her father was stinking rich, and he was just a mere hunter. She was his ticket out of poverty, and he would not allow this human chimpanzee, called Obiageli, ruin it for him. He made a plan. Himself and his two friends. They kidnapped Obiageli on her way back from the stream one dark evening. They tied her hands, beat the hell out of her, and dragged her to the riverbank. "I won't let a beast like you ruin my life," he said. They stabbed her and threw her into the river. Her blood mixed with the flowing waters and she died. But the river had eyes. "Adanna is Obiageli." The words thundered from the lips of Ezedibia, the chief priest, and the village square fell into dead silence. "She is not human," he roared. "A spirit of vengeance has been living among us, and we were too blinded by her beauty to see it. She made a pact with the water goddess, and in exchange for beauty, she feeds the river with the souls of our men. Obiageli is here for revenge." A collective scream escaped from the men in the crowd. "Hey! We have been sleeping with a spirit." Some even staggered back. Some fell to their knees. One man fainted. Another began spitting into the air, as if trying to expel Adanna from his system. "Tofiakwa! Tofiakwa! Tofiakwa!" Murmurs broke like a flood across the palace court. "We said it. Her beauty was not ordinary. I always knew she was from the marine world. Didn't I say she had snake eyes? Spirit honeypot. Hey! Hello!" The king rose to his feet, pale and trembling. "What do we do, Ezedibia?" he asked, his voice low and terrified. "How do we stop this? How do we cleanse our land?" Ezedibia raised his staff and declared, "Sacrifice." Gasps echoed again. "We must appease her spirits, and more importantly, Obinna and his accomplices must pay for the evil they committed with their heads. It is only then that her spirit will rest and the curse will be broken." Meanwhile, Adanna had disappeared from the village just like she came. Her secrets were out, but the curse still remained. People were still dying. Obinna and his friends were dragged out. They were now elderly men. And the villagers couldn't stop spitting and cursing them for the evil they had brought upon the land. Alo, Tufiakwa. Preparations for the sacrifice began as every family contributed to the items. 7 days later, they were all marching down the river with the items. At the river, they cried and pleaded with the water goddess, and then offered their sacrifice with the leading of the chief priest. Obinna and his friends were beheaded and thrown into the river. They needed to pay for their evil deeds. The river roared. It bubbled and raged for a moment, as if swallowing the guilt of the village. Then it grew still. Ezedibia turned to the people, sweat glistening on his brow. "The spirits have accepted our offering," he said, his voice cracking. And at that very moment, Mama Njideka screamed. Her voice had returned. "I can talk! I can talk!" she shouted, lifting her wrapper and running like a goat released from a cage. The people wept with joy. The curse had been lifted. The fear was gone. Adanna, or Obiageli, whichever, was at rest. The people of Otukpo began to sing. They danced. They beat their drums with new fire. And together they marched back to the village, free at last from the curse of a spirit maiden whose only sin had been to love, in a world that refused to see her. Hey besties, we've come to the end of the story and I hope you enjoyed it as much as we enjoyed making it. I hope you learned 1 or 2 lessons from it and I would love you to share your lessons in the comments section. If you enjoy our stories and you are yet to subscribe to this channel, please do not skip this video without hitting the subscribe button and turn on your notification bell so that you get notified whenever we post new stories. Thank you so much for your love, your support, and everything you do. They mean so much to me. Right now, I'll have to go and see you in our next story.